Previously on Research, Rank, Repeat.
We told you we'd be back by the end of the year.
Yeah. We're back.
We are going to edit our Christmas list. We have 3 new movies. I picked a movie, Alyssa picked a movie, and we let a random Generizer pick a movie for us.
Generizer? Randomizer?
Randomizer.
Last year, you were attacked by a spider.
Yes. How the spiders stole Christmas.
Yes. But the children love the books.
First thing I wrote. But the children
was it really?
the books. Yeah.
But the children loves the books were the first thing I
Yes.
wrote right at the top here.
I also wrote that.
Oh my god. Amazing.
Will Ferrell totally bought into this role and just went with it, and that's why the movie works. And I have to say I agree.
Clarence does not appear, Hannah, until an hour and 48 minutes into the film.
I wrote a note.
I had forgotten that it took that long.
I wrote a note that I said, interesting, you technically hear about Clarence at the beginning, you aren't reintroduced to him until there are 30 minutes left.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah. Had a 5.4 out of 10 on IMDb, a 22 out of 100 on Metacritic, and a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It is a 5%?
I think 5%'s a little low, honestly.
Chris Columbus, who did Home Alone?
Yes.
Made this?
He produced it, yeah.
Oh no.
I know. No, he doesn't get arrested for cocaine use in this film, but maybe that would be better. Good old Midwest dad terrorizes the neighbors, commits almost cat murder, and tries to put the mailman in a coma. But with a neighborhood like his, I almost can't blame him.
Why the fuck are these people so goddamn nosy, Hannah?
I don't know.
They're so concerned with other people's business. They're like, you're not having your Christmas party? You're not ordering Christmas cards?
Also, do these people not work? Because they're all home during the middle of the day and it's not COVID.
Leave them the fuck alone.
They don't work from home. You can let us know your favorite Christmas movie. You can let us know if there's a Christmas movie you'd like us to watch next year. Anything like that.
Yeah. We'll probably do another 3 or 5.
Yeah.
3 to 5, I think.
Yeah, depending on how motivated we are.
Really depends on how motivated we are.
But we'll be back next year, probably.
Yeah. See you then.
I believe.
Yeah.
I believe. I believe.
Welcome. This is Research, Rank, Repeat. I'm one of your co-hosts, Alyssa.
This is co-host Hannah.
Meow.
We got lots of meowing going on over here.
Cash wants to button. And we are back for our 3rd year of doing our Christmas films. So great news, everyone. The writers and acting strike is over because that really shifted a lot of our plans for the end of the year, which means we didn't do our Halloween movie that we were planning to do. But just in time, we can do Christmas movies. So we're back. We're doing another 3. Hannah, are you excited?
I'm very excited
About this year?
You know, this year is not it.
2023 is not it.
I have a feeling it might not be that year for a while. But, you know, I like Christmas movies.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the Christmas spirit, but we'll get into it.
Yeah. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, my Christmas spirit is I'm drinking peppermint tea. And I have my Jingle Bell earrings on and Christmas colors, and that's my Christmas spirit.
My Christmas spirit is in 2019 with the rest of my body.
Yeah, pre-COVID.
Yeah,
what a time.
Pre-COVID. So yeah.
So following our trend from last year, what we've decided on is that we are going to be doing Hannah picks one movie, I pick one movie, and then according to Hannah's words, we found a Generizer, which I love. I had forgotten that you'd said that when I was checking out the old clips from last year's episode.
Mm-hmm.
A randomizer.
Yes.
To pick us a Christmas film.
Yes.
Do we want to reveal the 3 before we start, or do we just want to jump into a movie?
You know, let's reveal the 3.
Okay.
I'll start with my pick, which
sure
is Alyssa's been waiting for this movie for a very long time. She cries every time she sees this, and that would be
pain.
And that would be the Polar Express.
Yeah, the Polar Express.
Yeah, if you just believe.
Enthused. If you just believe.
Yeah.
it almost will be over. Last year, I went real old. I went to the 30s, but I was ready for more modern day. A classic, a favorite. Home Alone.
Home Alone.
It's my choice of this year. Home Alone.
Yes. And then we did our Generizer.
We did.
And lo and behold, we were both shocked when we got Babes in Toyland.
The 1934 version.
Apparently
Laurel and
there's
Hardy.
many versions.
Yes, it's highly adapted.
Yeah, so
That
happened.
Unfortunately, we could find it, because our rules are if we can't find the film in a reasonably legal-esque way, then we're not going to do it. This whole movie's available on YouTube right now.
And, of course, it's perfect quality. Nothing wrong with it. We can't even have the excuse of, oh, the quality wasn't good. We can't use this
The quality was great.
The quality
yeah,
was
it was
great.
Good quality.
I mean, it's a black and
great.
white film, but still.
Yeah. There are versions of the film that they've recolored, but
Yeah.
I don't know where those are, and I didn't care to watch it, so...
The one thing that got me was they did not have subtitles.
Oh my god, Hannah.
I couldn't get subtitles on that.
I went to click it on, and it said no subtitles available, and I went, no!
Yeah, which is not fun when you're trying to focus and come up with lines and...
I think older films too, sometimes the stereo sound quality,
Yeah.
like it just kind of like the mixing wasn't there again because it's the 30s,
Right.
so like it's hard to hear what people are saying or singing. I could not follow any of the lyrics of any of those songs.
Nope. So yeah, those are the 3 films. I think we should start with Babes in Toyland.
You want to start with it first?
Well, because you have 2 movies to do and I have 1.
I do.
So I think we should
Split
put
it
mine
up.
in the middle. I mean,
Okay,
it's your
you'd
choice.
rather-
Would you like to start with Babes in Toyland or Home Alone?
Yeah, let's. You know what? Let's
I think
get
we
crazy.
should end
let's,
positive.
Let's start with Babes in Toyland. Okay, so Hannah, I just wanted to ask for an update as well because last year and the year before for our Christmas episode, we've had the mention of our website for our podcast. Do you have any update on the status of that website?
Okay, so going on to Babes in Toyland.
Okay, I'm going to take that as a no updates, which is fine. Babes in Toyland. Known by many alias names, I will get to those in a bit later because there's context for why it has so many different names, is a film that was released in 1934. It has a runtime of 1 hour and 17 minutes, and it wasn't rated because it was the 30s and they didn't really have ratings then, so unrated is what I'm going with. So this is a Laurel and Hardy musical Christmas film. So for those of you who don't know, Laurel and Hardy were a British-American comedy duo that were well known for the classical era of Hollywood, where they originally did silent films and then transitioned into a slapstick comedy, kind of like Three Stooges, when that type of physical comedy was really popular, like 30s, 40s, 50s. So the movie is based on the 1903 operetta, I'm not up to date on all my opera terms, by Victor Herbert. And the movie was directed by Gus Mines and Charles Rogers. And so although the movie is based on this operetta, it uses some of the characters' likeness, and it uses 6 musical numbers from that. However, the plot deviates drastically from the original to this adaptation. Like, it's really not the same story. It's pretty different. Some of the characters are the same, based in fairy tales, based in Toyland, but they travel to Toyland in the original, like children do. I believe is from my memory, because I've seen an adaptation of this film, of Babes in Toyland, but it's been so long and I don't really have much to remember about it. I just remember 2 children is my main memory, kind of like a Hansel and Gretel situation. They initially were going to produce this film in 1930. The studio was called RKO. But there was a backlash against musicals in the fall of 1930, so they scrapped the movie idea. Apparently, people hated musicals in 1930. I'm not entirely sure why that happened. Maybe because of the Great Depression. People got really depressed.
You were too depressed for musicals?
she was pressed for musicals. That's a possibility. I was trying to think, I'm like, why specifically 1930? But anyway, in 1933, it was revisited, and then they were able to produce the movie then, a few years later. There was regrets that the film was not shot in Technicolor. It was initially aired in black and white and only exists in black and white because all of the sets of Toyland were all vivid storybook colors and like were really like detailed and vibrant. And so there exists like later colorized versions of this film. I think one was released in like 1960 and another one was released a bit later. And then my favorite tidbit of information, Hannah, is that Walt Disney approved the use of Mickey Mouse in this film. He was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. I have so many thoughts about Mickey Mouse being in this film. The critical review to this film was positive, as one person who reviewed the film said, quote, an authentic children's entertainment. The first theatrical release of this film actually lost money, so they didn't make any money, and they didn't have any box office, any like monetary numbers that I could find anywhere, so I don't have any like specific details on that. But the film was actually re-released several times, and they changed the name to try to trick people into seeing the movie because they thought they wouldn't know it was the same film. So this movie is also known very commonly as March of the Wooden Soldiers. It's also known as Laurel and Hardy in Toyland. And Revenge is Sweet is another title that has gone by in the past. So this is known as a Thanksgiving Christmas holiday film, as during like re-releasing films on TV, that became a thing. Kind of like what happened with It's a Wonderful Life, where like it became more popular because it was being played on television. So it's kind of like that. Became a Thanksgiving Christmas holiday film. It has a 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 3.3 out of 10 on Letterboxd. A 3.3 out of 5, excuse me. And now time for my summary. With a 5-minute cameo from Santa, this film somehow became a Christmas classic. In a true fever dream of fairy tales, the Peep family must find a way to avoid foreclosure on their shoe home and prevent the evil Mr. Potter, Scrooge, Barnaby banker from marrying Little Bo Peep in Toyland. Jarts will be launched, pigs will be kidnapped, and cursed Mickey Mouse will haunt your dreams. What was this?
This movie's insane.
Insane!
Oh.
It's horrific.
The pigs?
Like,
it's just a mask.
The pigs!
It's just a mask.
Pigs. So the costume of the pigs is like a almost like a paper mache mask, like a rubber mask.
No, it's like rubber because when he was drinking something, he opened his mouth.
Horrifying. Yeah, the pigs are horrifying. You have a small, probably what is a capuchin monkey dressed up in a Mickey Mouse mask and costume. Horrifying, like early days of Mickey Mouse. We're not talking modern day Mickey. It's not your kid's Mickey. It's your grandmother's Mickey. And this monkey, I'm like, is this monkey okay? Like, and I went to look up to see if I could find any details about the monkey that played Mickey Mouse, and the credits just say Mickey Mouse as himself. So I don't know what monkey played Mickey Mouse, but I'm like, this monkey was working overtime. Yeah. Like, he was in a hot air balloon, he was parachuting, he was throwing bricks, like, running around, like, all the while in a mask that I'm sure shit couldn't see out of. Yeah. It was something. I
texted Alyssa last night because I was watching this movie. Yeah. And I was like 30 minutes in, and I was like, I don't think this is a Christmas movie. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh, Santa showed up, never mind. But he shows up for like 2 minutes, and then he's gone.
So the plot of this movie, like, it's in Toyland. So you've got, like, Little Bo Peep, you've got Mother Goose, you've got, like, the Pied Piper. But one of them is Santa's... Tweedledee and Tweedledum. But you also got Santa's workshop. So Laurel and Hardy work in the workshop. And so Santa shows up, and they build him these humongous wooden toy soldiers who then, when they start up, just like destroy the workshop and push Santa into a present. And then he just goes, ho, 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 ho. Yeah. That's my interpretation of Santa in this movie.
Yeah.
So there's some musical numbers. I didn't gather anything from those musical numbers. They're pretty much only sang by Little Bo Peep and the Pied Piper, and nobody else sings in this movie. Pretty much.
They're also, like, boring as hell. Like, this movie was an hour and 17 minutes, but I could not have checked the amount of time left more times than I did with this one.
It's a bit rough. My other thing I liked is there's a part where, because they can't pay their mortgage... Wait, where's my phone? I found a review on Letterboxd that I liked, so I just wanted to read somebody's review. It's by someone with the name of Liz. Why does a place called Toyland have evil bankers and predatory mortgages? I'm going to be having nightmares.
Yeah.
So basically, the Peep family, the Bo Peeps family, they can't afford their shoe home. So this Barnaby, I think is his name?
Mr. Barnaby.
He's like the evil banker.
Yes.
He's the Mr. Potter of It's a Wonderful Life. Comes in and is like, you can't pay your mortgage, we're going to evict you, or your daughter could marry me.
Yeah.
And initially she's like, no, I'm in love with someone else. And her mom's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
But then she's like, fine, I'll do it. I got to save the family. Because they basically, the Laurel and Hardy get like dunked in water.
Like waterboarded.
And they get like waterboarded. And I honestly was laughing because there's a part where it breaks and he's underwater and you just hear like clearly ADR like added after the effect. And it was just like so jarring how loud it was compared to everything else that I was like, this is funny. I was like, I actually enjoyed that bit of physical comedy. That part was funny to me. I mean, I don't have a ton to say about the general, like, everything with the plot, but I will say the last 10 minutes had a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, it was entertaining.
Yeah.
I just think that there wasn't really much of a payoff because the Mr. Barnaby just, like, hid in a door and that was it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It definitely picked up towards the end because I'm not gonna lie, the first, like, hour I was like, okay, like...
Oh, it was rough.
I was, like, not interested. I was like, I don't really care. But the last, like, 20 minutes were pretty solid. My problem, though, is that this isn't a Christmas movie.
No, I agree. It's not really a Christmas film.
So, I mean, Santa was there, but...
Yeah.
It wasn't even taking place on Christmas because it was, like, July.
It was July,
Yeah. Like, at least Die Hard, you can argue, like, oh, it takes place on Christmas.
It's
and there's, like,
Christmas.
elements. There's, like,
it's
a Christmas party, and there's, like, elements of it. But this, it's like, you can't even make that argument.
Hannah, Santa's in it.
I don't give a fuck if Santa was in it.
Yeah. I did, so the part that I did like, and I do think it's actually pretty technologically advanced, is they have these wooden soldiers, like a ton of them.
Yeah.
And it's like almost claymation initially where they like walk out. And I was like, that's surprising for 1930s.
Did you get chills? Because everyone on YouTube said they got chills.
I did not get chills. Okay. I just thought it was cool.
I liked cool.
The music. I liked the music during the scene. And then my favorite bit by far was Mickey Mouse parachuting, one in a hot air balloon throwing shit, and then getting hit and having to parachute down was by far the most entertaining part of the film. That and the jarts. I really liked the return of the lawn dart. Big fan of them just hitting everybody with darts, you know? You do what you gotta do.
Sometimes you gotta do it.
The other thing that I wanted to bring up, just because I thought it was funny, is, well, one, Laurel and Hardy eat sausages that they think one of their pig neighbors was made out of, which I think is sadistic, first and foremost. Secondly, there's one point where this boy is sitting on the toy soldier's leg and just getting carried around with him, and I was like, we used to do that as kids to our dad.
Yeah.
We would just, like,
we used
wrap
to
around his
sit
legs.
on a leg.
Yeah, and make him walk us around, and I was like, you know what, I support this child. He's doing good things.
It's no wonder he's got knee problems. We destroyed them.
We took out 2 meniscuses.
Yeah. But yeah.
That's funny. That shouldn't be funny.
It is kind of funny.
It's a current issue, you know.
Yeah, but this movie is just it's a lot. I also don't know about the 100%.
Here's my thought process, right? The reviews, there's 16 reviews, and they're all from the 1930s. So I think under the Rotten Tomatoes, like, fresh, like, those all are fresh.
Okay.
Like, because it got positive reviews, and I think that's how they determine their, like, fresh rating is, like, based on how people above a certain threshold.
Okay,
so, like, even you don't average the or it's not like an average of the scores. It's like if it's above a certain threshold, it's considered fresh. So then it automatically would be 100.
It's just like,
in that
I've
case.
seen some of the movies that are 100% Rotten Tomatoes, and for the most part, I, like, agree.
Yeah,
It's
or have
just,
some reason to agree.
I just don't know that is at that level.
Yeah. My thought is because it's 1937,
Yeah.
I think that leads to it. And actually, I'm going to, because I have this notebook, I have the last year's.
I'm curious what was It's a Wonderful Life, because that would have been
I
around the
wanted
same
to
time.
look that up.
Curious what that would be.
93.
Okay.
But also, that didn't do well critically.
I know, that's true.
When it came out. Yeah, it wasn't well liked.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, but yeah,
But, you know, still pretty high. For a film that was
Right.
not critically liked, it got a 93. So I think it's some merit to the fact of not that many reviews and the fact that it came out almost 100 years ago. Has something to do with it.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways.
Do you have any other thoughts on this movie?
No, I just was creepy and I didn't like it.
Unsettling.
Yeah. No, let's just move into favorites. Favorite character, I didn't really have one, but I guess if I had to pick one, I would pick Timmy, Little Bo Peep's man.
Oh, the Pied Piper.
Pied Piper.
Yes.
Because he was kind of cool, and although he didn't really do much. No, I don't want him. He was a wimp. Let's pick Bo Peep. Why not?
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Because she was, like, kind of the main character, and
Yeah.
I felt bad for her having to potentially marry a
Yeah.
skeezy man.
Yeah.
Everyone's nightmare.
Really, truly is. I picked Mickey Mouse.
Oh my god.
I loved
He did the most.
little
I
monkey
mean, he was
playing
really
Mickey
doing a
Mouse.
lot,
You
yeah.
know, for a monkey of few words,
Yeah.
I feel like I learned a lot about his character in this film.
For sure.
Had a real plot relevance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite line? There was a line where Little Bo Peep was, like, talking to Mr. Barnaby. She was like, I wouldn't marry you if you were young, which you can't be. And I was like, ooh, got him.
Yeah. There was a similar line that her mom said where it was like, don't enter my house or something like that. But it was only I didn't write down the line because I didn't care to, but it was usually lines in back to Mr. Barnaby were the ones that I liked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I did favorite scene, favorite music is one. It's the final sequence.
Yeah.
I just like the action elements and I like the music that tied into it. There wasn't really like Christmas music to pick from.
Yeah.
Which
not
I guess
really.
all these movies we didn't say it had to be Christmas music.
It doesn't have to, but a lot of times it is or sounds like Christmas music.
Yeah, I just thought it was cool, and honestly I didn't like a lot of like the beginning songs were very like boring, and like they're kind of like old school songs.
Yeah.
It's
also based on an opera,
right,
style.
so it just wasn't really my style. But I thought the best music that incorporated into the movie was the final scene with like the chase.
Yeah, I agree. My favorite scene in music selection was like the March of the Wooden Soldiers, because I thought it was technologically pretty good for the time it came out, and then also I liked the music that went with that. Yeah. So I would have to say that would be my favorite as well.
Yeah.
The boys being rambunctious.
Yeah, Carl is like, do you want to come?
Carl.
Sit in my lap.
Why you gotta be like that? Why you gotta be so rude?
Okay. Shall we move on?
Let's do it.
Let's move on to my selection. The Polar Express. Movie's rated G. Came out in 2004. It has a runtime of 1 hour and 40 minutes. It had a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb, a 56% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 3.2 out of 5 on Letterboxd. It did gross $314 million in the box office, so good on you, Polar Express. This movie was directed by Robert Zemeckis, and it's based on the 1995 children's book of the same name by Chris Van Allsburg.
Shout out to Grand Rapids.
Yeah, East Grand
that's
Rapids.
Where he's from.
I have more about that coming up.
Nice.
Ties into the movie, or the book. So this film features human characters animated using live action and motion caption computer animation. This film received mixed reviews from critics and fans. Well, I guess not fans. And
I'm not a fan.
I know. And initially grossed $286 million against a record-breaking $165 million budget, which was the biggest for an animated feature at that time.
Shit. That's an expensive
Yeah.
movie for
Well,
that. Yeah.
It makes sense when I get into, like, the details because...
I mean, because they, like, motion captured,
it was, like, a
right?
new kind of technology.
Yeah, which is pretty new technology at the time, yeah.
Yeah, so it was listed in the 2006 Guinness World Records as the first all-digital capture film. So it was the first time a film had done that all digitally. Tom Hanks voices 6 different characters in this film. And each one of the main characters had around 3 actors or actresses play them for either, like, voice, motion capture, and singing parts. They had, like, different people. So this actually was started kind of development in 1999. Tom Hanks had optioned the book, and he wanted to play the conductor in Santa Claus.
Did his production company produce this movie? Because I know he has a production company. Him and his wife do. I'm just curious.
Yeah,
if that's
I'm not
why he got to
100%
do
sure because him
roles.
and the director like produced it and like created it together basically.
Okay, gotcha.
So I don't know if it was through his company. It didn't say anything about that.
I also don't know when he made that company, so it might have been pre then. Okay, I was just curious.
So yeah, he wanted to play the conductor in Santa Claus, but one of the conditions of the sale was that the resulting film not be animated. They were fighting very hard against that. But
interesting.
Zemeckis, who is the director, felt that a live-action version was unfeasible and claimed it would look awful and be impossible to make, and that it would the budget would be close to like $1 billion to make. Mm-hmm. Because it was live-action.
Yeah. I think it really would have cost $1 billion to make a live-action Polar Express.
He also felt that it would rob the audience of the art style of the book if they changed it into a live-action movie. So Hanks and Zemeckis acquired the rights to the book. They created a new process in which actors would be filmed with motion capture equipment in a black box stage and then be animated, hence why the budget ended up being as large as it was for an animated movie. Hanks have stated since that this method of working was actually a return to the type of acting that acting in films doesn't allow you to do. And Hanks was initially considered to play every single role, but grew exhausted, and because of that they had to get additional voices.
Wait. Okay, wait. Every role?
Yes.
Including the girls?
I don't know that the initial version had all those characters. I think they were going to have less characters and he was going to be all the voices.
So it was going to just be men?
Well,
all voiced by Tom Hanks?
I don't know.
Because, I mean, if he's voicing every character, then
I think he was going to do
Hanks.
the female voices too.
Yeah, that would be exhausting. Imagine an hour and, 20 minutes, you said?
It was an hour and 40 minutes.
An hour, yeah. You have to do all of the acting, every single line in an hour and 40-minute film.
Yes.
Sounds horrific.
Well, that's why they didn't do it.
Yeah, no wonder.
So yeah, they actually, and I forgot to mention that Hanks and Zemeckis appeared before Zemeckis was the director for Forrest Gump.
Okay.
So they have been in a film together before.
Gotcha.
So, the song Believe, written by Glenn Ballard and Alan Silvestri, was nominated for the Best Original Song at the 77th Academy Awards, and it ended up winning a Grammy in 2006.
Did it win the Academy Award?
No, it got nominated, but then it won a Grammy.
Do you know what won the year it got nominated?
No.
I'll look it up while you keep talking.
The soundtrack for this movie was certified gold in 2007. It sold 724,000 copies in the U.S. and is the best-selling film, soundtrack, holiday album hybrid since the music tracking sales began in 1991.
That's what you said. We were talking about one of the films from last time, and you had mentioned that at Polar Express.
Yeah,
and I was like,
we were talking about... Oh, you're right. We were talking about Christmas with the Cranks, I think, because we said the guy...
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Which, honestly, good for them.
Yeah.
So, in 2004, the year it was nominated, it lost to a song called Al Otro Lado del Rio from the Motorcycle Diaries. No idea what song it is.
Yeah, I don't know what the Motorcycle Diaries is.
Jorge Drexler. I don't know who that is either, so...
Interesting.
Anyway, that's what it lost to.
Okay, anyways, so the locomotive that's featured in this film is modeled after the Pierre Marquette 1225, which actually that train spent many years on static display near Spartan Stadium on the campus of Michigan State University.
Really?
The author we mentioned is from East Grand Rapids. He recalled playing on the engine while attending football games as a child.
Huh.
They moved it. It's not, like, there anymore, obviously.
Yeah, well, clearly. I feel like I would remember a train being near Spartan
But
Stadium.
I read an article about how students in the engineering program at Michigan State did a project to try and get it, like, running again. Like, they actually worked on the train. So it spent many years there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. Also, there was a video game that released in 2004 for this movie, in which the Ebenezer Scrooge puppet attempts to prevent the children from believing in Santa Claus by stealing their tickets, and then they're not allowed to go to the North Pole and meet Santa.
Yeah. Sounds riveting.
Yeah. Shocked we didn't have that one.
Yeah. What do you think? It was on DS?
They had
DS
it on,
wouldn't have
it said
been out yet.
GameCube.
It said GameCube?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we missed out, I guess.
So this film has spawned multiple real-world holiday train travel experiences in US, Canada, and in the UK. This movie was nominated for multiple categories at the 77th Academy Awards. In addition to the song nomination, they also had nominations for effects and for, I think, another soundtrack or sound mixing. And in 2008, the American Film Institute nominated The Polar Express for its top 10 animated films list of all time. I have a summary. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's a train. In this movie starring Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks, two unnamed children and their companions take a trip to the North Pole. The journey is filled with many twists and turns, which all lead to a spectacular performance by none other than Steven Tyler. This film is full of magic, music, and lessons as our main hero boy learns the greatest lesson of all. You have everything you need if you just believe. Believe! I believe.
I believe this is yours, Hannah. And by that I mean you brought this movie to us and made me watch it.
You know why I picked it? Because I knew there was no other way we were ever going to do this movie on this podcast.
No. For context, I have never liked this movie. I've seen it. I've watched it. I didn't like it as a child. I still sure as shit don't like it now. Hannah hates that no one in her family will watch it. She just had to watch it by herself if she wanted to watch it because nobody was...
No, I do watch it every year by myself because no one will watch it.
Because nobody likes it. Why don't you go first as somebody who likes the movie?
Okay.
Who appreciates it, and then I can go because I'll do a laundry list of the things I don't like about it, and then it'll feel less, less bad to start,
I think that this movie is proving the point that it's not about what you see and how things work, because you watch this movie and it seems very like, that would never happen. Which, that's kind of the whole point of this movie. It's supposed to be this, like, fantasy, like, Harry Potter, like, different world kind of experience. But I think that in watching that and in having that mindset, it's about choosing to believe in the magic of that world. And in doing that, you believe in the spirit of Christmas. I also think, you know what I really like about this movie? A lot of the plot points are not left as holes, because he rips his pocket in the very beginning of the movie, and that comes back to haunt him, which it seldom does. I also think, I like that the two main characters, their names are literally Hero Boy and Hero Girl. They do not have names. They're not credited as having names, because I think it's nice for, like, children to see themselves in these kids when they don't have a name to put it to, and they're like, oh, like, I could be the hero boy because he doesn't have a name. I like that Billy, who is the little boy who's poor and who says Christmas doesn't work for him. I really like having him portrayed in a movie because you don't very often see kids on Christmas who don't get a lot. You see kids who get a lot of stuff, and then I feel like in real life, kids who watch that, they always see these kids getting a ton of gifts, and that's not really how it goes for a lot of people. So it's nice to see a character who is like, oh, well, sometimes Christmas just doesn't work out. I think it's cool to see that. I think, honestly, I understand a lot of people don't like the animation, and they think it's too realistic. The eyes are creepy. Like, I've heard multiple people say this. And I would like to say that, one, this was like a newer process. It was the Guinness Book World Records. It was like the first film to fully be captured that way. So I think a lot of it has to do with it being a newer movie. Also, the animation is better than like Ice Age, that creepy Studio Ghibli one, the witch, the earwig, the whatever it was.
Earwig and the witch.
Yeah. And also, this movie was in 2004, so I think, like, for the time period it was in, I don't have an issue with the animation. I actually kind of like the animation. And I like that there's a lot of interpretation in this movie, because there's the character on the top of the train who's kind of, like, ambiguous as to who he is. There's a lot of theories that he's actually, like, the spirit of Christmas, the spirit of Santa Claus, and his goal is to make sure the kids get there safely, because there's multiple times where he kind of guides the kids through, like, a dangerous situation. I like that the Tom Hanks, the conductor, is, like, Father Time, like, making sure that they're getting to where they need to be on time. And I don't know, I just think that the story itself you're basically following these kids on a journey. And I think that's kind of cool. I think that there's a lot of scenes that aren't just thrown in there. Like, a lot of the scenes have a purpose and go on to explain the greater story. And I think also there's, like, multiple lessons throughout. And yeah, you get hit in the face a little bit when he punches believe onto a ticket, or learn. But I also think sometimes for kids, you need to be kind of obvious. And I don't know, I just think, I know this movie gets a lot of hate, I know there's a lot of, like, mixed feelings about it, but I've always just appreciated the fact that, like, this movie, like, feels like Christmas to me. Because it's all about these kids, like, they're in different situations. The main kid he's kind of on the cusp of not believing in Santa anymore, and I feel like we've all been there. There's a lot of kids who have been in that situation. There's a lot of kids who haven't had, like, a Christmas like other kids in their school, or, like, that they know have, and there's a lot of, like, you know, people who doubt themselves and stuff like that. And so I think it's, like, you can see yourself in these kids, even as an adult. And I think that's kind of cool and kind of the underappreciated factor of this movie.
Yeah. I will say, my positives, I have no problem with the story. I think it's a good story. I think they execute it well. I do like that they're unnamed characters, because I think it allows people to put themselves into those characters' roles, like, into that spot. I also really like the soundtrack minus this children singing. Like, Believe, I love. It was on my Christmas list of best Christmas songs. I like the, like, motif of using Believe, like, throughout the movie. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I hate children singing, and there's a lot of it. Also, Tom Hanks kind of ruins the hot, hot number, in my opinion.
No.
Okay, but he's off key. He's off tempo.
I don't care.
Like, if you watched that scene, which I thoroughly watched it because I wanted to see how much tap dancing they put into it, which not enough in my opinion. If you're going to have tap dancers, you got to really focus on those footwork and those feet, and I needed more tap dancing. But, well, it's catchy. It's a catchy song. There are points where Tom Hanks he's not with the music. Like, he's off where he should be. He's too slow, he's too fast, he's not with it, and it was bothering me. That song specifically. I had to kind of, like, tune out when Christmas Time is here, just because, not the song itself is bad, again, it's the children singing, it's my own issues with that. Same with the Polar Express song. It's too much.
They did multiple like leitmotifs, because the kid, every time that Billy was on screen, he gets his song playing in the background, right, which is kind of cool.
And so, like, I liked the soundtrack in general. Oh, also, because my most memorable part of this film, and I was waiting for it to come up, is there's a part where there's a child from New Jersey who puts gum in his sister's hair, and you just, like, see a screen of him going, "I didn't do it." And for some reason, that's what I remember about this movie, is that. Oh, also, I also thought the main theme kind of sounds like sounds like a mix between the main Home Alone theme and Elf, together.
It kind of
does. If you shove those together. Because I was like, it sounds, but it also, I feel like a lot of Christmas themes have that kind of same sound to them.
Right.
So maybe that's why I think it sounds like those. The animation is really off-putting for me. It's hard to watch. It was off-putting when I was a child. I remember being, I still haven't seen the same director, Jim Carrey Christmas Carol, because I cannot do it. It's just, too uncanny valley. It's too, just, off-putting. I don't, enjoy it. I just don't like looking at it, in my own opinion. Plus, I feel like sometimes Tom Hanks is distracting, because I only hear Tom Hanks because he's playing 6 different roles. I feel like the only one that I would say is not distracting is Santa. It's Tom Hanks Santa, because he kind of sounds like Donald Sutherland.
Yeah.
Almost. Like President Snow from Hunger Games. So, but the other ones, it's I don't know, it was getting a little distracting to have so many different characters be Tom Hanks, and me just being it's Tom Hanks. Kind of what we've talked about with some animated movies where you feel like you get taken out because you hear the celebrity voice a lot. I don't know if I had any other notes. Yeah, mainly I did like the score. I liked the song. Story, I think, is a solid story. I just wish they wouldn't have, and I understand it was for its time, a really big deal. Clearly an extremely expensive movie for an animated film. Trying something new, experimental. But I just don't like it as a collective piece, is how I feel about it.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. I know not everyone likes it. I've always liked
I don't think it's a horrible movie.
No,
I'm not.
I've always liked this movie, and I think a lot of people, can't look past the animation aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when I hear complaints about the movie, it's about the animation. And I get that, but also, I, in my head, try to remember it's 2004. It was, the first of its kind. There's gonna be some aspects of it that probably aren't the best. But I think that, the story in my mind is strong enough to, carry it through, is how I feel about it. I also don't really mind the animation, and maybe that's, a personal preference thing. I don't know. I think it's, a pretty solid movie from start to finish, and I've already kind of said what I wanted to say about it, but yeah.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah.
You can have Polar Express. I will not take it away from you. You can have it. Willingly give it to you.
So, favorite character, I kind of cheated and just said Tom Hanks because he's out here doing the most and playing 6 characters, and I respect
really
him for that.
Hustling in this film.
So I just give him, he gets the award for MVP.
Yeah. I picked the hero girl because I felt like her character was, I think, my favorite of the children.
Yes.
Because I feel like her whole thing is leadership and confidence. I liked having that from the only female character of any note in this movie. Is she gets your lead on your leadership, learning, confidence. I'm cool. I like to see that.
I also like that she's not a white female character. It's cool to see, especially for a kids movie in 2004. I feel like there wasn't a lot of variety and there wasn't a lot of diversity, and I think it's cool to see a strong female character who's not just there for the plot. You know what I mean? It's nice to have a character like that. So
I do have a question though. This is something that I thought of when you said Tom Hanks was going to play every role.
I don't know about
a small black child.
I don't know.
Was that going to be, or was that character not existing?
I'm not sure.
Because in my head, I was ooh.
Yeah, they didn't really
interesting.
They didn't really delve into the details of that. So I'm not sure if he was just going to play all the male characters and have female. I mean, he basically did play all the male characters.
I mean, except for the small children,
minus the small little children. He played the child as an adult voiceover,
the narrator. Yeah.
My favorite quote. One thing about trains, it doesn't matter where they're going. What matters is deciding to get on. I think that's a good quote about life in general. Sometimes you just got to take the step or go on that journey and kind of just, live life, breathe air.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I went with the basic quote, seeing is believing.
Yeah.
because I feel like if I remember anything from that movie, it's that quote, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Favorite scene. I've always really liked the scene where the ice is cracking and they're on the train and right, left.
Tokyo Drift.
Yes. I just think the scene is cool. I actually think that's one scene where like the animation looks like pretty cool. Like
I will agree.
Yeah,
yes.
seeing like the cracking ice and then the train like kind of getting like going under a little bit and coming out. Like I just thought the animation looked pretty crisp at that point, and I just like all the back and forth between the characters.
That was also my favorite scene because I had written a note about this and I skipped over it, but I thought the train derailment scene is the most entertaining scene in the movie. Like, I think that part is well done, and it is a better train derailment than Anastasia. Yes. I'll give it that. Anastasia also has a pretty big, like, pivotal train scene. I will give it to Polar Express. Plus, I've seen those cuts of people doing Tokyo Drift music with the train, and I'm like, honestly, I would support that. I support a Polar Express meme with the Fast and the Furious tie-over.
Respectable.
Like, they can respect. I respect it.
Yeah. And then favorite song, it's got to be Believe. I think that's also just like a very good Christmas song in general.
Oh, it's Josh Groban is the voice of an angel.
Like I love that song, and not like an ironic in an ironic way. Like I just really like the song.
So I watched the Polar Express while I was working, because one, I ran out of time, but also because I was like, I'm going to be able to do this if I'm doing other things and not just have to sit and watch it. Plus I've seen it before, so I don't need to like be thoroughly, paying attention to every detail. But when I finished the movie and I watched the credits to hear the song, I then listened to it on Spotify after when I was walking home, because I was like, okay, I got to get it twice. To make up for the last time when we watched the end of Polar Express earlier this year, and they cut the credits, and I was pissed. And I was like, that's all I wanted, was that glorious end credit song. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Believe in what your heart is saying.
Hear the melody that's playing. There's no time to waste. There's too much to celebrate.
Spread your wings and fly. Yeah. If you just believe, yeah. Do you have anything else?
No, I just love the movie.
It's fair. All right. Now, to my final film, and the one that I chose, Home Alone. All right. So Home Alone was released in 1990, has a runtime of 103 minutes, and is rated PG. This is an American Christmas comedy film that was directed by Chris Columbus and written by John Hughes. As we talked about previously, Chris Columbus directed Christmas with the Cranks, and how far that fell from this Christmas movie.
Everyone's got to have one bad one.
Everyone's got one shitter, you know? So this film, I won't go too much into the sequels, but there are currently 5 sequels to this film, 6 total. One that has the original, like, cast. There were 2 movies back-to-back, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, which also is a pretty quality sequel, I think.
Also has Donald Trump.
It also has Donald Trump, which we don't love that, but, you know, it does have Tim Curry, and we do like Tim Curry. One is actually one more recently. Like, I think Buzz, who plays his older brother, is actually in the one that came out, I think, like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah,
so
it was recent.
They've been churning them out. The initial reception to this movie was actually mixed, which I thought was really interesting, but became more positive over time. However, even though it was critically mixed, this movie grossed $476.7 million worldwide, which was the highest grossing live-action comedy of all time until The Hangover Part 2 in 2011. Yeah, so it made so much money that it was the highest-selling comedy for almost 21 years, which is insane. That's crazy. Honestly, that was shocking.
When did Bridesmaids come out?
That was 2013.
Okay, I was going to say, because
12? Okay. It was around that time of The Hangover Part 2, because I was in high school.
No, Bridesmaids is 2011.
Oh, so I guess it made... Well, also, Hangover 2 was also 2011, so same year.
Okay.
So, I wonder if The Hangover Part 2...
Came out first.
Yeah. And then, so maybe it was that. So also, it was the second highest grossing film of 1990, behind the classic Ghost.
Of course.
Yeah. A classic film. This is also really interesting. It also was the 3rd highest grossing film of all time worldwide, behind Star Wars and E.T. So it was Star Wars, E.T., and then Home Alone.
Interesting.
So it did well. And it also was the highest grossing Christmas movie of all time until, what movie do you think toppled it? What Christmas movie? Specifically Christmas film. I don't think it's not going to be what you think it is. And think about inflation as well, because I think that is a big determining factor in why this movie is, or at least at the time it came out, was the highest grossing Christmas film.
Claus?
No, but great guess. That's a good guess. It's not Claus, but it's around that time frame.
Like Arthur Christmas, or...
You saw this movie in theaters.
Is it live action?
No.
It's animated. Oh, The
You saw
Grinch?
this. Yes. 2018's Grinch with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah. I think I blocked
think
that from my memory, so...
Yeah. My theory is that because of inflation and, like, just how expensive it is to see the movies now, which, by the way, Hannah and I are going to see a movie for the podcast tomorrow, and the tickets were $24.
Yeah.
For 2 people, which it's, like, excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
Yeah.
But we'll do it. We do it for you. This movie was nominated for Golden Globes for Best Picture and for Best Actor for Macaulay Culkin. Just nominated, didn't win. It was also nominated for the Academy Award for Best Score and for Best Original Song, which also neither won the year. But the score was actually written by John Williams, who famously did Star Wars, has done a lot of scoring for films for Steven Spielberg, and he also did the first 2 Harry Potter films. So he's like a legend and just like in like scores, like a scores for movies. Like he's one of like the greatest. He's a goat. In 2023, the film was chosen for preservation in the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress. So they're like, we need to preserve this for all time. It has merit, it has value. And so there was so much background on production and casting and things, so I tried to condense it as much as possible. But like the Wikipedia, our most trusted website,
yes.
When I was looking, it just kept going. And I was like, my God. So I'm going to do my best to just kind of like condense the things that I thought were important to notice. So John Hughes, who has written many classic 80s films that we know and love, including Ferris Bueller's Day Off, wrote this script for the film when he was going on vacation, and in making a list of trying to think about things so he wouldn't forget things, he had the thought of, what if I accidentally forgot my son? So he at the time had a younger, like 10, 11-year-old son. So then he started to write that into a screenplay. And so initially he pitched the film to the WB, and they were like, yeah, we'll accept this film if you can keep the budget under $10 million. Which, when you compare that to the cost of the Polar Express.
Which was like $165 million.
Yeah. So they wanted to make it for $10 million. And so he was like, cool, we can do that. But also, secretly, on the side, he was meeting with 20th Century Fox, and he was like, hey, what if I just secretly deliver you this screenplay and then keep that as a backup? Because then it's like, I didn't give them the script. It it appeared at their studio. So the budget ended up getting up to $18 million. And so the WB was like, nah, sorry, we'll only do it if it's $10 million. So he's like, cool, no problem. And then 20th Century Fox was like, yeah, we'll take it, no problem. 18 million, what's another 8 million?
Right.
This movie did so well in the box office, it made almost its initial budget in the first weekend. So it made $17 million in the first weekend. So it almost
right.
The whole cost of the movie was almost covered by 2 days of, a film. So it also was pretty much all the scenes were filmed in Chicago, which John Hughes famously generally will film most of his shoots in Chicago. They did film in the O'Hare Airport, which apparently the scene of the family running was one of the hardest scenes to film. They had to film it for like 7 days straight. And one of the actresses, I think one of the child actresses of the family, had said that there were thousands of extras, and they all had very specific patterns that they had to go, because they were running full speed. Like they were told to run as fast as you can, like full speed ahead. So they had like extras, like specific routes, so they wouldn't be in their way, because they just had to be sprinting, which I thought was really interesting. Howard Hughes had asked Chris Columbus to direct this film because he had just left the set of Christmas Vacation, another movie we'd covered, after he had left due to creative personality differences between him and Chevy Chase, which I thought was like a tie-in to a film we've covered. They had a personality clash, not a crash. And so Columbus ended up doing some uncredited rewrites for the screenplay, and one of his additions that is like pretty prominent is he created the character of Old Man Murphy. I don't know. I thought I saw T. Old Man Marley to the script. So he originally was not. Is it? Why do I have because of Marley? Marley, like from Christmas Carol. It's Murphy. Yeah, you're right. I think in my head I was like Old Man Marley. Yeah, Marley and Marley. From Christmas Carol. Yeah, so Old Man Murphy was an addition from Columbus himself to the screenplay. Macaulay Culkin, who plays Kevin, was suggested for the film because he had previously worked with John Hughes on Uncle Buck. And so he did end up casting I think he casted over 200 kids and ended up choosing him. Apparently John Mulaney was scouted to play Kevin McAllister, but his parents didn't want him to, so he didn't audition for the film. Because he was a child, in a child comedy troupe at the time or something. And I was like, that's interesting. For the role of Harry, who is played by Joe Pesci, the role was initially pitched to Robert De Niro and John Lovitz, who both turned down the role, and then eventually was given to Joe Pesci. Daniel Stern, who played Marv, was on the set and then initially had left because he was asked to stay for a few extra weeks but wouldn't be paid anymore. So he's like, nah, I can't do that. Sorry, bye. He left. They brought in a man named Daniel Roebuck, who famously is the dad from Quince.
Oh. Okay.
And Art from Lost, amongst many other roles, but that's just the ones that I know him from my childhood. But they didn't feel like the chemistry between him and Joe Pesci was right, so they asked Daniel Stern to come back, and I think they were like, okay, we'll pay you more. Right. Please come back. We like you better. They also, apparently Joe Pesci was really hard to work with. He had a hard time not swearing on set, which is why he does a lot of cartoonish, swearing sounds. He also apparently needed to play a round of golf every morning, so they had to push the callback time to be 9 instead of 7 because he was like, I need to play golf before I act, and they were like, okay, I guess that's fine. Yeah. John Candy, who has a small cameo in this movie, had only 23 hours to film, which they had to do it. He had one day to film, so they did it over a span of 23 hours to shoot his scenes. He's paid $414 for his role, did it as a favor for John Hughes because they had worked together a lot. Right. Uncle Buck, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. They'd worked together a lot. And so because he was doing it as a favor, he was the only person on set who was allowed to ad-lib his own lines, and pretty much John Hughes said that pretty much every line of dialogue was just John Candy just saying whatever he wanted. There was no real script for him in that role. There was a lot of tension caused by the stunt work in the film because the stunt men who were Marv and Harry for Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern, they didn't have a lot of safety equipment. So originally in a lot of the scenes they had harnesses on, but they couldn't find a way to hide that in the film. It showed up on camera and they couldn't I think they didn't have the budget and they didn't have the special effects to edit out a harness. Mm-hmm. So they did all those stunts without harnesses. The falling and stuff like that. So there was a lot of tension because they were we'd shoot the scene and then be hope they're okay, which is not okay. I will say, as 1990 was definitely a little bit of a different time, and I know stunt people have regulations and things are still probably not where they should be in relation to safety on sets and things like that. I think I can go to my review, the scores. So it has a 65% on Rotten Tomatoes, 63 out of 100 on Metacritic, cinema score of A, 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb, and a 3.8 out of 5 on Letterboxd. And now it's time for my summary. The McAllisters are a big family, and everyone hates Kevin. So much so that they leave him at home and fly to France for Christmas. As Moira Rose desperately tries to get home, Kevin must lean into his most psychopathic tendencies to prevent the wet bandits from breaking into his home. I still cannot watch Marv step on a nail, and the wet bandits should definitely have died from the sadistic booby traps.
Yeah.
I still can't watch that scene.
No, I had to close my eyes.
I can't.
There's also a YouTube video of an actual doctor reacting to their injuries and was like, yeah, they would have died.
Like a lot of the booby traps and stuff are fine. I even as a kid I would cover my eyes and look away, and I still I'm like, oh, it's like I feel it internally, like it hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just like such a classic Christmas film. The soundtrack is so good, but I mean, it's John Williams, so it makes sense.
Right.
Like, when I think of like a Christmas like movie soundtrack, I honestly think of Home Alone. I think the music also makes a lot of the scenes. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like a lot of my memory of certain scenes is very much tied to the music playing at the time, or like the score at the time. Plus, like, Macaulay Culkin is so good. Yeah. Like, as a child actor, like, he just is so good in the role. He recently got a star on the Hollywood Hall of Fame.
Catherine O'Hara was there.
She did. She talked. She gave a speech. I watched that a couple weeks ago, which I thought was nice. Yeah. And, like, he's so good, and he carries this film. Like, it could have gone so wrong. Yeah. Because a film, like an adult film, because this isn't, I wouldn't necessarily call this a children's film. No, it's like a family, kind of like a family film.
It is, but maybe. It's a bit more like adult than like kiddish. Yeah. Like, yeah.
Right. And it would be so easy to have this go so wrong, to have a child actor just like not, because he's alone for most of his scenes. Yeah. Like, he's just like, it's him and the environment and like, and the script that's written for him. And I feel like it's, like, he certainly got a lot of credit as a child actor at the time, but I feel like even now I'm like, it's so impressive. Like, it's hard for me to think of another, like, child actor who can carry a movie like that. Yeah. In, like, even in recent memory, like, to be that in control of a set and scenes and, like, be able to do that. And to carry a sequel on top of that. Mm-hmm. Like, there were 2 films that he did for this, and both did very well. Right. Like, in the box office and budget and things like that. Plus, I love Catherine O'Hara. Yeah. Maybe a slightly shit parent in the sense that they leave their child. Yeah, also accidentally like, miscount.
They're all just very mean to him at the beginning.
Yeah,
they all fucking hate him. And it's like I get he's annoying, but he's also a kid, and like that's how kids are sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this movie, we grew up watching this movie.
I don't even know if I know how many times I've seen it.
No, I've seen it, I'm sure, every year.
Yeah. It's funny. I watched this the day after Thanksgiving. Oh, yeah. It was on, and me and my dad and like watched it. Yeah. And I was like, well, I already have to watch this for the podcast, so I watched that, and then I watched it again, because I was like, I didn't take notes, so I had to watch it a second time.
I mean, I think in terms of rewatchability, it's very rewatchable. Yeah. It's so interesting that the whole movie is essentially him and, like, the 2 bandits, like, they're the main characters. I mean, I know the mom is kind of back and forth. Right. But it's so interesting that so much of what was done is just him being a kid and interacting with his environment and...
The wet bandits.
Yeah. And it's just, I love John Hughes' like films. Oh, like,
so great.
His films have this like real sense of like nostalgia for me.
And, like, I feel like he has a way of, like, writing characters and making them feel, like, real and, like, really personable. Even, like, if they're not good people, you know? Like, I mean, his family's dysfunctional. Like, there's a lot going on. And nobody's perfect. But, like, I feel like he makes, like, families feel real. Like, same with Ferris Bueller. I feel like he makes their family feel so real. Right. Like, the dynamics and everything, even though you just get to see them on a specific moment in time. Yeah.
Yeah, and he just has a way of doing films and, I don't know, there's just something about this movie that feels so, like, comforting. Like, it does. When it comes on, I'm like, like, it's Home Alone. And, like, it's weird because the movie itself is kind of, like, psychotic in a way because...
Oh, 100%, yeah.
It's, like, these bandits basically terrorizing this kid and this kid terrorizing them.
And then he just beats the shit out of them.
But there's so tortures them. There's so much of, like, this comfort of it. And, I don't know. It's an interesting film. It's good. I don't think it's just good as a Christmas film. I think it's good as a film on its own. Just as a film,
too. I agree.
Because some Christmas movies, I'm like, oh, well, it's good as a Christmas movie. You kind of categorize it. But I think this one kind of goes past that. And it's just like a good film in general. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of good humor in it. It's funny.
It is funny.
A lot of physical comedy. It relies very heavily on physical comedy, but it works. Like, it's not.
It does.
Sometimes you get too much physical comedy and it's over the top. This movie, like, just like teeters on that line of
Just
almost too much,
line.
but they always keep it right at the right amount, which is
the
kind of
nails
impressive.
too much for me.
Well, it's just like gross.
And the glass is hard too.
Yeah.
The stepping on the broken ornaments, that one's a little rough for me as well.
But yeah.
Things with your feet, I'm like, I
just think that it, in terms of like a story, it's really well done. I think it's like a pretty genius story idea. And I think it's one of those movies where like one thing happens and it sets off this like chain of events.
Chain reaction.
Me and Alyssa watched this guy, Dylan, is in trouble. He was reacting to Freaky Friday, and he's like, it's interesting how one switch can lead to so many jokes and so many like things. So I think that kind of is how this movie is too.
Yeah. She's beaten up.
Yeah.
Open fist.
But yeah, I just think that it's just a really well done movie in a lot of aspects. And it doesn't feel like a kid's movie, which is kind of nice when you watch it as an adult. It doesn't feel like, oh, this movie's made for kids. It just feels like, oh, this is a movie that anyone could enjoy.
I feel like this movie also feels pretty timeless as well. Like, I know it's like, you can tell like the time period based on like the clothing and the attire and like the set, you know, like what people looked like, you know, in the, like what places looked like in the early 90s, you know, 1990. But I feel like just as a whole, like the movie itself feels timeless. Like, it doesn't feel dated. It doesn't feel like it can only exist in the time frame that it was written in. Because I feel like some, especially Christmas movies, I feel like some Christmas movies can feel really dated or like really specific to like when they came out.
Right.
Because like we kind of talked about that with Elf, where like some of the humor doesn't really hold up.
Right.
The same way, because I feel like early 2000s humor
kind of
was like kind of its own thing and doesn't necessarily work all right now or like currently. So I feel like it feels really timeless.
There's not a lot of like problematic material in it. I mean, like, it's kind of interesting because like you would think like, oh, the kid's like lost and no one seems to be that concerned. I kind of feel like that was the attitude in that time period. Yeah. Like, it was like, it wasn't like it's now where if you left a kid at home, it'd be like this huge freak out. It's like, oh, he's at home, he's probably fine. Like,
he's home.
And the police are like,
we'll
go check on him and like all this stuff. So there's not a lot of like just problematic material in it, which I think helps because it doesn't make you go, ooh, like, you know, because sometimes I watch movies and I'm like, ooh, like that's a little uncomfortable. But so I feel like it's relatively good in that aspect too.
Yeah. I also really like how they portray, like, I will say for Chris Columbus, I do really appreciate, like, the old man Murphy, the character of Murphy.
Yeah.
Like, and I'll kind of get to it. I double dipped. I picked several scenes as my favorite scene, but I really like, there's a scene where he goes to the church and he sits with him and they just talk, and he basically is like, you know, I have issues with, like, me and my son don't talk anymore, but, like, I come to see my granddaughter, and, like, they have, like, a genuine conversation. Right. And it was like, you know, he was like, why don't you tell him that you miss him? Like, you know, like, I feel like kids can give wisdom in a way that maybe as an adult you aren't, like, willing to hear or, like, act on, you know?
Right.
But, like, sometimes hearing it from, like, a different perspective maybe can make you, like, see things differently.
Right.
Like, try to, make that relationship work. So I really did like his character. He is very scary, though.
Yeah.
Like, early on. Like, they make him out to be a very scary person.
I think he plays the
like,
part well.
Yeah, I think so.
You know? Yeah.
I don't know if I really have anything else to say.
No,
like,
I
don't even know if I have anything negative to say.
No, I don't.
Be honest.
I mean, honestly, there's not much negative about this film.
No,
I think the time, the amount of time for the movie is like solid. Like, it doesn't drag on.
Yeah.
I don't have much bad to say.
I do love the John Candy cameo in film. He's great. He's like such a comforting person, you know, in film. Plays that role so well.
Okay. Favorite character, I had to go with Kevin.
You have to.
Because he's one thing, he's just such a good kid character, but he's just such a good character. It's not even that he's a kid, it's the fact that he just, like, carries that whole movie.
He genuinely, like, he is the movie. Yeah. Like, if you think Home Alone, it's Kevin McAllister. Right. Like, or you think of, I don't know what, Catherine O'Hara. Like,
but it's weird, because I never even associate her with that movie. Like, in my mind,
well,
it's
now
like
Schitt's Creek.
Well, but even then, when I think Home Alone, I always think of Macaulay Culkin, and then I think of, like, the Bandits, you know, and then it's like, then you get there, but you
have to pick him.
Yes.
Like, he's got to be the choice.
I agree.
So, like, all of my scenes and musics are all tied together.
Okay.
'Cause, again, I think the music is really impactful in the scene. So one of them is the Christmas, when they're at the church. They're playing Oh Holy Night. And it is, I will say, a children's chorus that I don't hate. Because I think there's so many children singing.
Yeah.
And it all sounds good that I don't hate it.
Right.
But I liked the setup of that song in that scene. I also really liked the Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree when he sets up the, like, cardboard cutouts to be, like, pretend like there's people at the house when the Wet Bandits are kind of, like, staking out, trying to find time to break into the home. And then I really like the end of the movie when it's, like, that main theme and he's looking out the window. It's like, like, that one just, that's, like, comfort. That, like, that scene makes me feel like, like Christmas, like, comfort Christmas time. So
I agree.
I triple dipped. I'm going to be, you know, for all three, but those three are, like, the ones that I think stand out the most to me.
I actually, the song I picked it's called Setting the Trap. It's when he's setting up the home with, like, all the booby traps.
That one's also really good, too.
I really like it because it does, like, very much give Harry Potter vibes. Like,
yes.
I was listening to it and I was like, there's little parts where I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's taking them from other movies, which, I mean, it's his music, so he can do whatever he wants. But yeah, I really like that. And then scene, I just really like the final, like, chase scene. Like, honestly, from, like, the part where they get to the house to, like, where the police come. Like, I love that whole segment so much.
Like,
and it's, like...
hangs him up.
Yeah, and it's, like, one of the most memorable, like, movie segments where, like, I can remember...
Whoa!
I can remember pretty much, like, all the things that happen and, like, in what order they happen. So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's interesting with this film where, like, we had no overlap. And I gave 3 answers for all of it.
Because I feel like there's so many things to pick.
There's so many things to pick. And I agree. I think those are both also really great options as well.
I did have a favorite line.
I did as well.
Well, actually, I had 2.
Okay.
The one I like is, look what you did, you little jerk. And then I also like...
it's delivered so well.
It's so good. And then I also like, keep the change, you filthy animal.
You filthy animal, yeah.
Love that one.
I think the Angels with Filthy Souls scene, I was thinking about picking that one too. But yeah, keep the change, you filthy animal. That was my line as well, yeah.
Love that line. Okay, so... Before we add these, I do have some changes.
I do as well.
Okay. Well, let's just go from 12 down and just only talk about the ones that we...
either have changed or are new. I think that works, yeah.
Okay.
I think that sounds like a good idea to me.
I can start. Number 12, new worst movie, Babes in Toyland. The main reason being, I don't know that it's a worse movie than Christmas with the Cranks, but I enjoyed Christmas with the Cranks more, and this is not a Christmas movie, in my mind.
I also agree. Babes in Toyland 1934 is number 12 because I agree. I don't necessarily think it's a shit movie, like worse plot than Christmas with the Cranks, but I don't really even see it as a Christmas film, and therefore it's last.
It doesn't really add in.
It doesn't really add, I would agree.
Okay, number 11 is Christmas with the Cranks.
Mine is also Christmas with the Cranks.
It didn't move, I mean it.
Yeah.
Number 10, I have a change.
Okay.
Number 10 used to be The Grinch animated, now it is Falling for Christmas, the Lindsay Lohan film. Look
at you.
In going back and listening to the episodes, I do realize I had a bit of a nostalgia factor for Lindsay Lohan, and I can recognize that actually wasn't that great of a movie.
Yeah. I also have, although it's not different for me, but I have Falling for Christmas as number 9 as well.
Number 10.
Oh, sorry, number 10. Yeah. Because I drew an arrow. I went off my old list from last year, so yeah. So as number 10 is Falling for Christmas. Same order that it was from right above Christmas with the Cranks.
Number 9 is the animated Grinch. I moved it up one spot. I do think it's better than Falling for Christmas, but I still don't love that it doesn't have any character development. So it stays down.
That's fine. Number 9, I have The Polar Express. And it's the story, like, if it was animated differently, or even if it was live action, potentially, it would be higher, but I cannot with the children singing, and I cannot with the animation. So it had to be, I considered Hannah making it 11. So I was generous, and I put it at 9.
Okay. Number 8 is the Muppets Christmas Carol, which did not move.
Okay, and then I have Happiest Season, which didn't move for number 8.
Number 7, I have Happiest Season, which did not move.
Number 7, I have Love Actually, which did not move.
Number 6, I have The Polar Express. I think it's a solid movie, and I think it deserves, like, a halfway status. It's never been, like, my favorite. I've just always enjoyed watching it. But I think that it's decent enough to be above some of these other movies. I think the story's done well enough, and I don't mind the animation, which probably is what bumps it up for me. So,
yeah. So, number 6, I have Muppets Christmas Carol, which is a non-change for me. Same order.
Number 5, I have Elf, which is the same order. It has not moved.
All right, so number 5, I also have Elf, which is actually a change. This year, I finally did what I needed to do last year, and I swapped Elf with another movie that we'll get to with my next one. I switched 2. I bumped Elf down, and I moved 1 up.
I put number 4, Love Actually, which used to be my number 2 movie, so it actually did get bumped down a little bit. Okay. I did swap around my top 3, so it's now number 4.
Number 4, I have the Grinch animated film. I bumped it up 1 spot because when I was listening to our last year's episode and I was looking at my list, I thought, which one am I going to watch more often? And it's going to be the Grinch over Elf. Again, I think it helps that it's a 30-minute film, and I really genuinely like the animation style of that one a lot. Yeah. Like, it's gritty, and I can understand why that one is not a favorite of people's, in a general sense, story or animation wise, but I feel like that one is, like, for me growing up, I feel like that one was always going to be playing. Like, we were always going to watch the Grinch animated film around Christmas time, so yeah, I bumped it up 1 more.
Number 3 is Christmas Vacation. I did Christmas Vacation dirty our first ranking, and it's slowly moved up. It did move up again. It moved up past Love Actually, so it's now number 3.
All right. So number 3, which is not a change. I have It's a Wonderful Life. I think it's a fantastic film, but I can't watch it every year. Yeah, it's too long. But it is a really good movie. Would recommend if you've never seen it. Still would recommend black and white original version. It used to be on Amazon. I don't know if it's on something else right now. But would recommend, like, solid, like, classic solid film is what Babes in Toyland wanted to be.
Yes, I agree.
But it came out before. But this is what it should be. Yes. Like an old classic. Yeah.
Yeah, number 2 is It's a Wonderful Life, which didn't move for me. Yeah.
All right. Now, this was the hardest decision of my life. And I honestly think next year it's probably going to change. But I have Home Alone at number 2. I really thought last year I made a comment that I thought a movie might dethrone Christmas Vacation. And I thought this was the movie I was talking about because I love Home Alone.
Yes.
And I still love Home Alone. And I still love Christmas Vacation. And they're very different movies, so it's hard to, like, compare my Christmas feelings. But right now, I haven't seen Christmas Vacation yet this year, but I'm so excited. I'm watching it next week, like, as a movie night with some friends for, like, a Christmas thing. And I'm so excited for it. And I was upset that I don't have my Why is the Carpet All Wet Todd, I don't know, Margot sweaters here. It's at my parents' house. I can't wear it. And it was such a hard decision. But Home Alone at number 2. It deserves in the top 1 or 2, and honestly, next year it might end up being number 1. Yeah. I'll give it a year. I'll let it sit on it. I'll think about it. And those 2 though could flip flop. Like, those 2 are, like, for me is what, like, Chris's movies are. So it's a really tough one for me.
Yeah, number 1 I have Home Alone. I've always loved Home Alone. It's one of those, like, comfort movies for me, and it's just, there's not really, like we said, there's nothing really bad about it, like, to say about it. And I kind of knew going into it was either going to be number 1 or 2. But when I think about it, like, It's a Wonderful Life I really like, and I know it's a long film, and I do watch it every year. But Home Alone is one of those where, like, I usually end up watching it, like, in segments, like, 3 times a year because I catch it on TV, and I never get sick of it. It's very rewatchable, so that's why it's number 1.
Yeah, solid.
Yeah. I don't think we need to, like, go through the list because we just went through it.
We just kind of went through the list. I don't think we need to do it again. I would agree. But yeah, so this is another Christmas episode. Another year 3, leading into year 3 in our books. Yeah. So we will have, this might be our last episode of the year, potentially. I'm just going to assume it will be.
It should be, yes.
But we'll also be back. We're going to do our year in review episode we do roughly around the anniversary of our podcast, which is
January 6th. Which is unfortunate and not planned.
And the sad thing is, it's the year of the January 6th.
Yes.
Like, we had to delay. We had a post ready to go to
Yeah.
tell people we had started a podcast that was going to go up.
And then we said
2021,
nope.
January 6th. And we both texted each other and were like, I think we should wait a week.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't feel good about doing that. But
Yeah.
it's still our anniversary. I feel like that's fitting.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
It's fitting. But we'll be back. We'll have stats. We'll talk about some of the rankings of our episodes. We might do something a little different with like how we were gonna rank stuff. Hannah and I will talk about it.
Yeah, because we had a less episode year, so.
Yeah, and we'll cut that to just for us to say that so we remember that we need to do that. But anyway, yeah, so we're almost done with the year. Very thrilled to be able to cover things because if you haven't listened to our previous episodes, we were not covering anything that fell under the acting and writing strike because we wanted to stand in solidarity with those people who were striking. So we're back, though, and we can cover important things. And we have plans for some fun episodes coming up in the next new year. So look forward to some of those, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Do we want to talk?
It's been a while. We have our Instagram. We have Letterboxd. We have our email, r3podcast@gmail.com. And, if you have any... you think The Polar Express is also a mid-tier movie, let me know. I love to see some fellow Polar Express junkies like me.
Give us your Polar Express or your Christmas movie opinions.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear any comments, questions, concerns.
Yeah.
Send them to Hannah specifically.
Send them directly to me. And my phone number is... No, I'm just kidding.
Boop, boop, boop. My social security number is...
Yeah.
My credit card number is... Yeah.
My address is... but yeah, that's it for this year. So,
yeah.
Goodbye, 2023. You
Bye,
haven't been good
riddance.
to us.
Goodbye. Yeah, good riddance.
Yes.
Truly the darkest timeline, I think.
Yes.
Of the 2023
I fear
year.
it gets darker. Anyways, goodbye.
I hope not.
Bye.
Bye.
We would like to thank Joseph McDade for our intro music. He provides free music available for all kinds of creative use. The song that we used is called Sunrise Expedition, and you can find it and his other music on his website, josephmcdade.com. If you would like to reach us, you can email us at r3podcasts@gmail.com. That's R, the number 3, podcasts@gmail.com. Or you can find us on Instagram by searching Research Rank Repeat.